over time, all of a sudden there was a moderate to big change, and then things just got progressively better. And then you actually called it you said I reminded you of a guy that in 3 months his wife's wedding ring was back on, and I think I joined November 1st, and by November, December, January, by the end of January, things were definitely much better, and then by mid to late February, everything was repaired and better than it had ever been. So that was a great amount of change, and I was a little surprised, but I put in the work and followed the path as best I could, and I got the results I wanted, and I'm thrilled. Things had not been going well for months or years, and you kind of got used to it and thought, well, maybe this is normal, but really it wasn't. And then I got the famous quotes of, "I am not in love with you anymore, and I don't want to be married to you anymore." And so then, yeah, it hits you like a lightning bolt, and you're like, whoa, I got to do something. I got to do everything different. I got to find a way. I came from the perspective of, like from the old days, the baby boomers and stuff. It's like, well, my job is to provide financially, and I do that very well, and that's pretty much all I have to do. And I grew up only child. I didn't have male role models for leadership, for how to deal with women. Small town, went to private schools, didn't have a lot of examples to follow. So I make a lot of money, and she's in charge of everything else. And then come to find out that's not acceptable. That's not enough. She doesn't want to be in charge of everything else, but it's come to that. And so there was not an emotional connection anymore. We were just doing living like roommates, friendly, but she had some resentment underneath and a little cold or something. And then that led up to the talk about not wanting to be married anymore. And then you're like, oh, well, heck, let me find out what the heck I've got to do now. And then I realized I've got one chance at most to get this right, and the odds aren't very good. I don't know how much I can read and learn, and if that's enough. I don't know whether I can retain it, and I doubt that I'll be able to remember it and execute it in the heat of the moment. And then I also stumbled on one of your videos that said, even if you know everything that you need to do to make the changes and improve your relationship, sometimes there's an order you have to do it in. I was like, oh, well, I have no idea. That's when I was like, I've got to enroll in this, because I'm just not going to get it right with this one chance without help. And then, of course, your programs and your tips and your paths and instructions and examples, they were all working and getting physically closer in the house all the time, sitting closer together instead of not sitting together at all. Just a steady increase of, from apart in the house to right next to each other in the house, and all the other physical stuff, and just the joking and the amount of time we were talking. And then we start making plans for the future, and working on some goals and some chores and things that we have in our life to do together. And she started out with, I want to move out as soon as possible, to the opposite of that. They're better than they've ever been, that we have a good connection. She talks about my physical appearance and how I'm more attractive than ever. And so you check off all those lists, better than ever this, better than ever that. This is great. And so it's pretty much a complete picture. One of the big things was starting to learn how to lead the family. I had no idea what that looked like or how to do it. Whenever somebody says leader, I think of a boss or a dictator who says, here, do this is how this is going to be. And of course, it's not like that at all. And once I learned that, I could see that helping. And I felt the biggest changes with just not worrying about her, what she was doing, what I didn't like about her, what her faults were, just worrying only about me and becoming as good as I could be. And it made sense. And I was like, I can see a case for that, but I didn't know how dramatic it would be. Pretty much no matter how good you think your relationship is with your wife, it's not that good. It's probably much worse than you think. And I think almost every man would benefit from going through a program like yours, just as part of something that he does in life.